Today we're going to unlock a secret to making powerful short documentaries: storytelling. Whether you're telling your story, a family's journey, or a historical migration, a good storyboard is your roadmap. We'll learn how to plan a compelling 1 to 2 minute documentary using a classic storytelling art, and I'll even use my own migration journey as an example. A documentary, even a mini one, needs to grab attention and connect emotionally. That's why using a structured story arc is so important. It helps you build suspense, show change, and leave your audience with a clear message. This structure helps us organize our thoughts and ensure our documentary flows smoothly. Establishing context sets the stage or the first scene of the documentary. The turning point introduces the cause for change to happen. Rising action builds tension through the journey. The climax is the most intense moment of struggle. And then you had the falling action that shows how challenges are overcome and new possibilities emerge. And finally, the resolution that brings a sense of closure and reflection. This arc helps us guide our audience through the story in an emotional and engaging way. Now let's walk through the process of creating a storyboard using my own migration story as an example. A migration story describes a journey of a person or a group of people from one place to another, focusing on the push factors that motivate people to leave their homes and the pull factors that attract them to new locations. The first step involves having a script for each phase of the story, the things that will be described in the video. Remember, your mini-doc script should be concise, ideally 15 to 25 sentences. Okay, let's start with the establishing context. For the setting of the story that you want to share, ask yourself, when and where does the story start? Who is the center of the story? What was life like at the start of the story? These questions are all about setting the stage. They give your audience a clear picture of the person or the group of people and the place, so they understand what's going to change. So for my establishing context script, I introduce myself by saying my name and where I grew up. For the turning point, I asked, what pushes the person or the group of people away from their home? What are their reasons for leaving? These questions get to the heart of the story. They help you identify the push factors that force the decision to leave. In my turning point script, I talk about how I wanted to be a teacher, but I couldn't find a job, which led me to decide to move away from America and migrate to South Korea to teach. For the rising action, I asked, what obstacles does the person or the group of people face? What were some moments of resilience? This section is about the journey itself. The questions help you focus on the challenges and the emotions of the travel. So therefore, my rising action script describes how hard it was for my family and how lonely I felt going to a new country. For the climax, I asked, what was the most intense moment for the person or group of people who arrived? What difficulties did they face when first getting acclimated? The answers to these questions pinpoint the most intense part of the story, the moment when the struggle is at its peak. So for my climax script, I described how I had imposter syndrome, believing that I wasn't good enough to be a teacher. For the falling action, I asked what positive conditions pulled a person toward their new location. What resources were available? These questions mark the shift in your story. They help you find the pull factors that bring a sense of hope and a new beginning. In my falling action script, I state that through practice and effort, I improved my skills as a teacher, start my family in Korea, and moved to Singapore for a great quality of life. And finally, for the resolution, I asked, what was the result of the migration? What is life like now? These questions help you bring the story full circle, showing how the struggle was resolved and what the person gained from the journey. It's a moment where there is a sense of home, belonging, and a future in the new location. It signifies the end of the primary struggle. Therefore, in my resolution script, I ended the story by explaining that I found a new sense of belonging because of the migration. Finally, it's time to bring your words to life by creating a storyboard. The storyboard is where you think visually. You take each sentence from your script and decide what images, video clips, or sound you'll use to tell that part of the story. Next to your sketches, you can write down notes like sad music, sounds of a busy city. Again, this further helps bring your scene to life. For example, in my establishing context script, I had a great life in America. I decided to sketch out a visual of a sunny California landscape and a basketball court to really set the scene. I also added a note to add text about playing and watching sports. For the turning point section about the lack of job opportunities, I sketched out a visual of economic headline to give the audience a quick understanding of the problem. I can also note that a booming low-end frequency sound will be added to make the visual more dramatic. For my falling action script about things getting better, the storyboard would transition from me teaching confidently to a photo of my new family, and then to visuals of iconic Singapore landscapes. I also added a note for adding a camera shot sound when showing the photo of my family. So there you have it. By using this step-by-step process, starting with powerful questions, writing a concise script, and then creating a visual storyboard, you can bring any documentary story to life by gathering media and using a video editor to create your film.